I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
And away we go, episode 1304 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Thursday, April 16th, 2026, the day after the Washington Commanders revealed new uniforms. Not since the official announcement of the name Commanders on 2.2.22. Had there been such an anticipated announcement from the team regarding its brand? Should we call Wednesday 4.15.26? I don't know, but Washington on Wednesday morning announced 3 new uniforms, a primary white, a primary burgundy, and a black alternate called the Hellraiser. The primary uniform now is the Super Bowl era alternate uniform of last season, the Redskins-like alternate uniform of last season. The helmet for the primary uniform has the all-gold W on each side of the helmet, but the helmet for the Hellraiser alternate uniform, that helmet on each side has a burgundy W in gold trim with a spear going through the W, as yes, spear imagery is back for the franchise. Hello and welcome to this Thursday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. New episode out each weekday morning by 5 a.m. Eastern, and often much earlier than that. Next segment, in-depth reaction to and analysis of Washington's new uniforms, including why I like them, what I'd change, the word Commanders not appearing anywhere on any of the new uniforms, how the new uniforms represent a certain strategy from the Josh Harris ownership group, and what more could be coming regarding that strategy. And yes, I did say that the word Commanders does not appear anywhere on any of the new uniforms. The word Commanders, the C word, as some of you say, nowhere to be seen on any of the new uniforms. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats, they scored less than 5 runs in a game for just the 5th time in 18 games in MLB's 2026 regular season, a 2-0 loss at the Pittsburgh Pirates on Wednesday evening. The O's, they concluded a 3-3 homestand with an 8-5 10-inning loss to the Arizona Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Wednesday afternoon to lose 2 out of 3 games in the series. Before we get to feedback, 1 week from today is the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, which will take place from April 23rd through the 25th, will take place in Pittsburgh this year. ESPN NFL Draft analyst Mel Kiper Jr., he on Wednesday morning came out with his latest mock draft. He had Washington with its number 7 overall pick taking Ohio State receiver Carnell Tate. Here were Mel and ESPN NFL Draft and fantasy football analyst Phil Yates on ESPN's First Draft podcast in an installment that came out on YouTube on Wednesday morning.
Well, Phil was talking about Carnell Tate to Tennessee. Somebody's going to drop. Jeremiah Love drops down. Washington's going to end up with Carnell Tate. And Carnell Tate is a defined, is he a 2 or a 1? We don't know. Say, what was he going to be? We know one thing he's going to define. He's going to catch the ball. That is automatic. He catches everything thrown his way. Outstanding route runner. He's got enough length. He tracks the deep ball exceptionally well. He will block as well. He will give Jaden Daniels that guy that he can be reliable. Trust, right? They will build trust immediately, Jaden will, with Carnell Tate. He'll set a culture of work and professionalism, okay? To me, Ohio State, we know about wide receiver U, which they are. Carnell Tate to Washington to get Jaden Daniels back to that rookie form, or it's Jeremiah Love or Tate, somebody like that they need. The Carnell Tate, Field talked about it 4. I'm giving him to the Washington Commanders at number 7.
I think the Commanders might be in the best spot of any of the teams picking in the top 10. I just think that the Commanders' needs align well with how I think the board could shake out. I think they're the floor for Jeremiah Love. If he gets to 7, send the card in. We're good there. And he's a justifiable 7th overall pick. If there's a wide receiver, if a wide receiver slips, a la Carnell Tate, Totally justifiable there. If a wide receiver doesn't slip, it means one of the other defensive gems has slipped a little bit, whether it's a pass rusher in Arvell Reese or David Bailey, even after their moves this offseason in free agency, specifically the $100 million contract for Odafe Owe or a Sonny Styles. So not that you want to be picking in the top 10, but as I look through these teams, picking 1 through 10, the team who I feel like has the needs that align most with how I believe the board will shake out is Washington. So a team that was playing in the NFC Championship game just 2 years ago, I think has a chance to kind of get back on track in a big way, not just because of Jaden Daniels being healthy and what they did during the free agency period, but because of how I think the draft is going to play out in the first round for them.
Interesting perspective there from Field Yates. I like Cornell Tate a lot. We this week on the podcast have had 2 guests who've said that Tate is the WR1 in the draft. Washington Commanders analyst Mark Bullock, he said so on Tuesday's show, episode 1302, and NFL analyst Sam Monson, he said so on Wednesday's show, episode 1303. By the way, did you notice how Mel Kiper said Commanders? He said it in a way that I've noticed a lot of people say the name, a way that suggests feeling awkward saying the name. Here you go.
The Washington Commanders.
Yeah, Washington Commanders. Now, Mel Kiper may have just been playing around, but the way that Kiper said Commanders right there is similar to how you will hear people say the name, in that he said the name in a wacky way, said the name in a non-conventional way. People will say the name in a playful, almost mocking way, suggesting an awkwardness with saying the name. You wouldn't hear Mel Kiper say another team's name that way.
The Washington Commanders.
Exactly. Thank you, Mel. And speaking of the issue of the name/brand, you can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Feedback on the Washington Commanders' new uniforms. I would say mixed feedback. Let's see what we have here from Chris Wilson on X. Writes Chris, I'm intrigued by Hellraiser. Hope the team has more in store. Thank you for that, Chris. It does sound like the team has more in store. More on that next segment. From T. Kennedy on X. Writes T. Kennedy, I don't like that neither Commanders nor Washington is on the jerseys. Thank you for that, T. Kennedy. From Kevskin on X. Writes Kevskin, Josh Harris could have at minimum removed Dan Snyder's W, but refuses to. Harris should get no passes whatsoever, Al. Thank you for that, Kevskin. From Patrick Jones on X, writes Patrick, long way to go. Thank you for that, Patrick. From Stephen Daniel on X, writes Stephen, A FN plus for effort. The reality is Commanders has less than zero link to Native American culture, so embracing Greco-Roman iconography with a lean on past colors, fonts, and lingo is the way. The spear is the endpoint. It's all shields and Trojan horses from here. Thank you for that, Stephen. From Purang M on X, writes Purang, we had 4 uniforms last season. Do you think it's possible we will see a throwback at some point? Thank you for that, Purang. I do think that it's possible that we see a Washington Redskins throwback uniform of some kind at some point. From The Radio 1022, writes The Radio, the Commanders can say whatever they want in terms of embracing the name Commanders, but at the end of the day, going back to the spear and a New Jersey relaunch with no Commander's name tells me that a new name could be coming upon the opening of the new stadium when they return to D.C. Thank you for that, The Radio. From Chris Wilson on X, writes Chris, I'm intrigued by Hellraiser. Hope the team has more in store. Thank you for that, Chris. From Shadow Wars on X, writes Shadow Wars, the W and spear combo is just meh. Easy win to just go with the spear. Done. The team wants it. The fans want it. What's the issue? Make it a Roman spear in design if you must, but otherwise the unis look far better than what Snyder foisted on us. Thank you for that, Shadow Wars. Well, like the issue of the Washington Commanders brand, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing, makes sure that you never miss an episode, and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. The NFL team that started as the Boston Braves, then became the Boston Redskins, then became the Washington Redskins, then became the Washington football team, and then became the Washington Commanders. That team, on Wednesday morning, announced new uniforms. What were announced were 3 uniforms, a primary white, a primary burgundy, and a black alternate called the Hellraiser. The team did do, as so many of us wanted the team to do, made the Super Bowl era alternate uniform of last season the primary uniform, of which there are 2 versions, a white jersey with burgundy pants and burgundy jersey with white pants. And each version of the primary uniform includes what we came to know with the Redskins primary uniform during the glory days of the 1982 through 1992 seasons. 3-striped glossy helmet, gold face mask, number sleeve, burgundy and gold sleeve stripes on the white jersey, gold and white sleeve stripes on the burgundy jersey, solid block numbers. The helmet for the primary uniform does have the W on each side, the all gold W, what some refer to as the Taco W. I love that nickname for that W, the Taco W. B. The team announced a modified alternate uniform branded as the Hellraiser. That uniform, a mostly black uniform, features a helmet that on each side has a burgundy W in gold trim with a spear going through the W. So there is the official return of spear imagery to Washington in terms of a uniform. The Redskins' primary uniform for the 1965 through 1968 seasons included a burgundy helmet featuring a spear with a feather. So the spear is back. The team in recent months had made a big deal of the spear. I am surprised that we only have the spear on the Hellraiser alternate uniform. The team did also announce a new shield with 2 spears, so there is that. But my overall take on the new uniforms is that I like them. Anything that gets us closer to the look of the Redskins during their glory days, I like. Making the Super Bowl era alternate uniform from last season the primary uniform was a no-brainer, and I am a fan of the spear through the W on the helmet for the Hellraiser alternate uniform. What I don't get is this. Why just the spear through the W on the helmet for the Hellraiser alternate uniform? The spear looks great, and the W on the helmet for the Hellraiser alternate uniform is much better than the W on the helmet for the primary uniform. I much prefer the burgundy W in gold trim over the Taco W. I hope that we get what we have on the helmet for the Hellraiser alternate uniform on the helmet for the primary uniform. But other than that, I have no real complaints. The team on March 26th on X put out a video announcing that the team on April 15th would be announcing, quote, new uniforms, end quote. The team this past Monday at 12 p.m. on X put out a post saying that the reveal of the new uniforms would be on Wednesday morning at 10, and the post included a graphic with the following phrase, quote, behold the burgundy and gold, end quote. Well, the new primary uniform does represent the team going back to the burgundy and gold that we came to know during the glory days of the 1982 through 1992 seasons. There also is this. Washington's new uniforms include no mention of Commanders. 0. The word Commanders does not appear anywhere on any of the new uniforms. Now, it is true that not every NFL team has its name on the team's uniforms, but some teams do, and Washington does not, and I don't think that that's by accident. Yes, managing partner Josh Harris has made it clear that the team is sticking with the name Commanders, but do not confuse Harris sticking with the name Commanders as him not understanding the dislike of the name Commanders. I believe that there are two main reasons for why Josh Harris is sticking with the name Commanders. A, there is no magic bullet new name. Any other new name would at best receive a mixed reaction and at worst be despised. And I believe that Harris has data showing this, that the team could switch to a new name, but that the problem of so much of the fan base not embracing the name would remain. B, the magic bullet name is Redskins, but the team going back to that name is not an option due to the NFL and major corporate sponsors not allowing that to be an option. If the NFL and major corporate sponsors did allow that to be an option, I believe that Harris would have the team go back to being the Redskins today, okay? If you're angry about the team not going back to Redskins, blame the NFL and major corporate sponsors. Don't blame Harris. Harris isn't against the name Redskins. How do I know that? Well, the press conference at FedEx Field on July 21st, 2023, the day on which we had the closing of the sale of the team from Dan and Tanya Snyder to the Josh Harris Group. Speaking at the presser were Harris and limited partners Mitchell Rales and Magic Johnson, and each guy referred to the team as the Redskins. The Harris Group is not against that name. Otherwise, why did those three guys use that name during that presser? If those guys are so against that name, okay, they would have never used that name during that presser, but instead, very interestingly and perhaps very strategically, we heard that name during that presser a bunch of times, almost like it was a trial balloon to see how viable going back to the name Redskins was. But we since then, also very interestingly, have not had the Harris Group use the name Redskins. I've always wondered if the Harris Group got a talking to from the NFL for using the name Redskins so much during that press conference. But Josh Harris's hands are tied with the name Redskins. But that doesn't mean that the team can't do all that it can to look and feel like the Redskins. And the new uniforms that were revealed on Wednesday morning are part of this strategy. We can't be the Redskins, but what we can do is be everything but be the Redskins. And from the way that Harris has spoken, more is coming. Remember, Harris on March 30th in a session with reporters in Phoenix at the NFL's annual league meeting said that the team is sticking with the name Commanders, but he also said, quote, "We have a lot of surprises up our sleeve this season," end quote, regarding the branding. Here you go.
We're committed to the Commander's name. I'm going to leave that we have a lot of surprises up our sleeve this season. I think people will be. I'm excited to see the reaction. I think we've got it right, and I'm going to leave it to the surprise situation.
Yeah, Josh Harris, quote, "We have a lot of surprises up our sleeve this season," end quote. What exactly did he mean by that? He would seem to have been referring to more than just the announcement of the new uniforms on Wednesday morning, because he said, quote, "this season," end quote. Quote, "We have a lot of surprises up our sleeve this season," end quote. Remember, too, what we have discussed from our good friend Darren Thacker. He is the chief of staff for United States Senator Steve Daines, a Republican representing Montana. He is the senator who advocated for the late Walter Blackie Wetzel, the Wetzel family, and the Blackfeet tribe of Montana. The Wetzel family is a Native American family that played a major role in the design of the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior. Darren Thacker is a fan of this podcast and is from the region. He, in a post on X last June 10th, wrote this, quote, "Regarding corporate sponsors, we shared history of Blackfeet logo with 10 to 12 major NFL sponsors. None expressed concern to us with concept of featuring the logo on throwback unis or NFL licensed merch," end quote. And what is meant by, quote, "Blackfeet logo," end quote, is the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior, the logo based on Chief John Two Guns Whitecalf. And Thacker, in a post on X last June 28th, wrote, quote, "FedEx was one of the 10 to 12 corporate sponsors who shared with us that they would have no issue with the Commanders using the iconic logo on a throwback uniform or vintage merch," end quote. And Thacker Thacker via a series of posts on X on March 31st, quote, to help inform the discussion, FYIs, CC, Al Galdi. 1, we met with approximately the top 10 sponsors, gave PowerPoints on history of logo. None voiced concern with using logo on throwbacks or merch. 2, FedEx was one of at least 3 who took affirmative step of telling NFL they had no issue with logo. 3, Senator Daines and his team have met with senior NFL reps. They agreed that the logo was never the issue and remains popular. 4, we met with Harris, Mark Ein, other team owners. We believe they are terrific and are genuinely appealing to team heritage to unite and grow fans, end quote. A lot to take in from Darren Thacker, but bottom line, major NFL sponsors have okayed the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior, the logo based on Chief John Two Guns Whitecalf. Now, whether that logo ever comes back, who knows? But that intel from Darren would seem to suggest that the logo could come back in some form at some point. And in fairness, I do want to mention this. Darren, in a series of posts on X on March 31st, did make it clear that he was talking about the logo and not the name Redskins. He wrote, quote, I'm speaking only of the iconic Native American warrior logo, not the Redskins name. The name divided Indian country. The logo remains point of strong unity and pride, end quote. So an important point there. There is the name and there is the logo. They are two separate things. I do believe that the team bringing back the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior is a possibility. Now, in what capacity is hard to say. Maybe as a uniform patch, maybe as a helmet logo for a retro uniform, maybe as something more. I don't know, but I can tell you that the team bringing back the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior is a possibility, and I believe that there are people with the team who very much would like to see that logo back in some way. No guarantees, but remember, the logo now is displayed in multiple parts of Northwest Stadium. The team these days is posting plenty of footage in which that logo is visible, and the logo is no longer being censored by the NFL, as was the case 2 years ago. The NFL in February 2024 on X put out Super Bowl themed posts in which the league censored the Redskins helmet with the proud Native American warrior. Those days, thankfully, are done. But back to the word Commanders not appearing anywhere on any of Washington's new uniforms. I recently have discussed how I on this podcast more and more am saying Washington instead of Commanders. And I, in the titles for episodes of the podcast for months now, have been leaning more toward Washington than Commanders. And the reason for this is that a lot of people really hate the name Commanders, and I get the hate. And, I'm not going to go so far as to say I'll never say or write the name Commanders. I still do use that name plenty, but I do understand that just going with Washington is more pleasant for a lot of people, and so I'm doing that a lot more. But I made this decision independent of the team, trust me. But perhaps the team has made a similar decision to embrace Washington more than Commanders. We'll see. You could always reach me on X at Al Galdi. I got this from D. Manley on X, writes D. Manley. Just bought my first knockoff Redskins jersey since 2021 because of the name. I refuse to buy anything with Commanders on it. Thank you for listening, Josh. Take my money. Thank you for that, D. Manley. There has never been a situation with a team's brand like there is with the situation of the brand for the NFL team of Washington, D.C. This entire situation has been lengthy and complicated and divisive and misrepresented, and worst of all, has no true solution. There is no perfect magical fix for all of this. I do commend the Josh Harris group for trying to make the best of a bad situation. And, it is horrible that is how I'm referring to the situation with the brand of the team, a bad situation, but that is the reality. The Harris group is doing what it can, and I do applaud this strategy of, okay, maybe we can't have the name Redskins, but we can do all we can to look and feel like the Redskins. Washington Commanders team president Mark Klaus, he was on B. Mitch and Finley on 106.7 The Fan on Wednesday morning. This was Klaus on the idea behind the team's new uniforms, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between Brian Mitchell and Mark Klaus.
Well, I think anyone that's been following the journey since Josh purchased the team would see a very purposeful path of bringing the heritage of the team back into our brand, into our experiences. You think about retiring Art Monk and Darryl Green's jerseys. You think about everything, even to the design of the new stadium with the nod to RFK. I think for the ownership group in general, ensuring that we really celebrate that Redskins heritage is an important part of our journey. And I think that this uniform transition is really the next step in that path, right? It brings obviously some iconic elements back from the Super Bowl era. B. Mitch, you had a lot. You wore a lot of this. And, what I've told people, too, is it's not just about going back. When you see these elements together, it just feels right.
Yeah.
The color of burgundy, the gloss on the helmet, the yellow face mask, the stripe pattern. This is block numbers, all right, how powerful that is. This looks like a football uniform. Although it does look like our past, it's also something we're proud about for the future. And that's been the game.
I just think when I saw it the other day, it was familiar.
Right.
You know, and I think that's the word that keeps hitting me, where when I saw other stuff, you have to force yourself to see past what you were saying to try to get the feel of it. But this, familiar. The colors, we know it.
Right.
When you talk about burgundy, I remember when who was the coach from
Jim
Zorn said maroon and black. I'm like, no, it's burgundy and gold, dude.
That's right.
You see the burgundy and gold. Even with the black, the burgundy and gold stands out.
Right. Well, and one of the most important moves in this is the return to what I would call true burgundy and gold.
Sure.
And, as a brand guy, one of the things that I think about all the time is the consistency of how you deliver your brand. So, you're going to see that burgundy and gold as the foundation of what we do, right? You saw it a little bit on our website, our social media, certainly even integrating it into the black uniform, which I think is right. So your color palette is essentially the same, and your alternative black just brings this kind of additional level of energy. And I'm sure we'll talk about the spear in a minute, but it brings that to life. Yeah, I know. I know it's coming.
Okay, and this was Mark Klaus later in the interview on the imagery of the spear.
Obviously, no secret, right, that the spear has found its way back into certain elements that we've been doing. But where it started from was really in the same idea of how do we look back at the heritage of the team and think about things from our past that could also be relevant in today. And the spear became a really obvious opportunity because, one, it's instantly recognizable from the past of the Redskins. People know that icon. They recognize it. But it also can live in the Commanders environment we've been building, which is kind of this combination of the movie 300 and Game of Thrones and a little bit of Roman Greco in there. And the spear lives in that world as well. And so it became what we felt was a great device to kind of connect these two generations together, make it relevant to what we're doing today, but also a clear nod to the past. So as we started to utilize it last year in different things, we also listened closely to how the fans were reacting to it. And I think for many, it was a great trigger to our heritage, but also I think people like the fierceness of it. And I got to tell you, when you see it on the helmet, right, both of those points forward on the front of the helmet, it's pretty fierce. And we like that and like the integration of it.
Yeah, the spear through the W on the helmet for the Hellraiser alternate uniform looks good. I hope that we get what we have on the helmet for the Hellraiser alternate uniform on the helmet for the primary uniform. One more for you from Mark Klaus. Here he was on whether there was conversation about the spear being on both helmets.
Yeah, so, one of the things that we feel, and believe is very important is that we are on a journey, right? And we're going to be thoughtful and purposeful in how we think about bringing these things to fans and listening to them. We just felt like it was a great platform on this reimagination of our alternative black uniform. Love Hellraiser, think it brings the energy that DQ is bringing to the football side. Actually, a lot of what we do kind of shoulder to shoulder with football, make sure that it matches and feels like it fits what they're doing. And we just thought it was a great kind of that burst of energy for the alternate uniform. We're going to continue to think about how do we, bring more elements of our heritage forward, and we'll keep working on that. But for right now, we're excited about it being on the alternate and giving us that kind of special push when we need it.
All right. Well, more and more, this team is feeling like our team again. The top three people in the Josh Harris group are Harris, Mitchell Rales, and Mark Ein. All three are from this area. All three grew up as Redskins fans. All three understand the passion that we as fans of the team have for this issue of the brand of the team. Harris, Rales, and Ein are not the carpetbaggers who engineered the rebrand to Commanders. Never forget who was behind the rebrand to Commanders. And the answer is not as simple as Dan Snyder. A checked-out lead owner and Dan Snyder was a part of the rebrand to Commanders. Now, Dan Snyder, even when he was checked in, made terrible decisions, but also a big part of the rebrand to Commanders was a group of people who were outsiders and who proved to be short-timers. Talking about Jason Wright, who lasted for less than 4 years as Washington team president, August 2020 to July 2024. Talking about Greg Resch. He, in November 2020, was hired as the organization's chief financial officer. We, in September 2022, learned that he was leaving the team. Talking about Will Misselbrook. He, in May 2021, was hired as the organization's first ever chief creative and digital officer. We, in January 2023, learned that he was leaving the team. Resch and Misselbrook had major roles in the team's business operations, and it turned out that they were carpetbaggers. Now, maybe not by design, okay? In fairness to these guys, maybe they just could not stand working under Dan Snyder, but whatever the case, the likes of Greg Resch and Will Misselbrook came, had major say-so on things, and left. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I feel a lot better with the likes of Josh Harris and Mitchell Rales and Mark Ein leading the way. And while Mark Klaus isn't from here, he's from Ohio, I like him too. You could tell that he knows what he's talking about. We haven't always had that here. People who know what they are talking about. Hey, whatever big event that you're planning, a wedding, a party, whatever, consider using a great sponsor of this podcast, cateringbyuptown.com. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Catering by Uptown is outstanding. It is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are great Washington Commanders fans. Catering by Uptown is committed to meeting your every need with elegance and precision. Catering by Uptown takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event, and Catering by Uptown's specialty is weddings. Get excellent service at an affordable price. In fact, if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you could check out Catering by Uptown's premier wedding venues. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Well, Wednesday wasn't just the day on which the Washington Commanders announced their new uniforms. Wednesday also was Tax Day, and Wednesday was Jackie Robinson Day in MLB, the annual day on which MLB honors Jackie Robinson for breaking MLB's color barrier. Wednesday was the 79th anniversary of Robinson's regular season debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Jackie Robinson Day includes all on-field personnel in MLB games wearing Jackie Robinson's iconic number 42 in Dodger blue, regardless of each team's primary color. And the Washington Nationals, they on Jackie Robinson Day played a game straight out of the era of Jackie Robinson, a game that took just 2 hours and 13 minutes, but a loss, a 2-0 loss at the Pittsburgh Pirates on Wednesday evening in Game 3 of a 4-game series. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 8-10. The Nats offense, which had been so good, not good in this game. No runs, just 3 hits, which were 2 doubles and a single, just 2 walks, 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The Pirates went with an opener in Mason Montgomery, who tossed a scoreless top of the first, and then Pirates starting pitcher Carmen Mlodzinski, he acting as the bulk pitcher, tossed 6 scoreless innings with 5 strikeouts. The Nats were a bit unlucky. They, per StatCast, made 5 outs, each with an exit velocity of at least 99.2 miles per hour. But bottom line, just 2 runs are just the 5th time in 18 games that the Nats did not score at least 5 runs. Now, C.J. Abrams did get on base 4 times. Here's how you know that Abrams is doing well. He had a game in which the Nats got shut out, got on base 4 times. So he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 5 batter. Went 1 for 1 with a double, a walk, and 2 hit by pitches. Abrams, for this regular season now, has an OPS of 1,175. But the Nats had just 2 other hits. Curtis Mead, he is the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 1 for 4 with a double. And Jorbit Bibas, he is the Nats starting second baseman and number 7 batter, went 1 for 3 with a single. Here was Nats manager Blake Butera during his postgame session with reporters on Wednesday night on the struggles of his hitters against the Pirates pitching in this game.
I thought the pitching for Pittsburgh was really good. Montgomery coming out of the gates looked really good in his first inning, keeping us in check, and then Majinski just dominated for 6 innings. I think he did a really good job of just mixing speeds and throwing strikes. He was ahead of our hitters. It seemed like 0-1, 0-2 every at bat, and when our guys are down and behind the count, it's really hard to hit. Not just our guys, but everybody. It's just hard to hit when you're behind the count. And tip of the cap to him, he did a heck of a job. They just kept us quiet.
When he's able to both get ahead of hitters and also not throw that much over the heart of the plate, what is the message in the dugout about how you even approach a guy who's pitching like that?
It's really hard. It's really hard. You wait for a mistake, and it just didn't seem like he made any tonight. I think the only one might have been the ball that Woody hit, but he mentioned that it got in on him just a touch. From the dugout, it looked like he got it, but he said he got jammed just a tiny bit there. And a few of the guys were talking in the dugout like, man, like he's just all on the edges, like nothing's been over the middle of the plate. So he did a great job. Man, it's just a really good pitching performance from all those guys tonight.
Yeah, the Pirates pitchers were good. I do want to discuss catcher Keibert Ruiz. He again is struggling offensively. 3rd consecutive season now in which he is wretched offensively. Hopefully he gets going, but so far he has been horrendous offensively. Ruiz on Wednesday evening as the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter went 0 for 2, dropping his OPS for this regular season to just .533, including an on-base percentage of just .200. But there's also this. So we have MLB's new automated ball strike challenge system, ABS. Players now can appeal ball and strike calls made by home plate umpires. Each team gets 2 challenges to start the game immediately after a pitch is thrown, and with no help from the dugout in deciding, the pitcher, catcher, or hitter can challenge the ball or strike call by tapping his helmet or hat. Well, Keibert Ruiz, he on Wednesday evening fell to a woeful 1 for 6 on ABS challenges when playing catcher in this regular season. 1 for 6. He is killing the Nats with these failed ABS challenges. And, of course, him failing on these ABS challenges makes him look especially bad given that he is, a catcher. He's right there receiving pitches, and yet he is just 1 for 6 on ABS challenges. The biggest positive for the Nats in this 2-0 loss at the Pirates on Wednesday evening was the Nats pitching. The Nats starting pitcher in this game was Jake Irvin. He allowed 2 runs in 5 innings with 5 strikeouts. He gave up 4 hits, all of which were singles. He issued 3 walks and a hit by pitch. He threw 85 pitches, 54 strikes versus 31 balls. So Irvin in the bottom of the first allowed 2 runs, despite generating swinging strikeouts of the Pirates' numbers 1 and 2 batters, O'Neill Cruz and University of Maryland product Brandon Lau. Irvin in that Pirates 2-run first allowed 5 consecutive Pirates batters to reach base as he gave up 3 2-out singles and issued a 2-out walk and a 2-out hit by pitch. But Irvin concluded his outing by retiring 13 of the final 16 batters he faced. And if that sounds familiar, it should. This was similar to how Irvin's last outing went. Irvin in the Nats 7-3 win at the Milwaukee Brewers this past Friday night allowed 3 runs in 5 innings. He in the bottom of the first allowed 3 runs, but did then retire 13 of the final 16 batters he faced. Jake Irvin over 4 starts in this regular season, ERA of 6.16, whip of 1.47. The numbers are ugly, but the problem for him has been what his problem was last season, the first inning. Irvin, over these 4 starts, has allowed 13 earned runs. 7 of them have been first-inning runs. Irvin, in the 2025 regular season, allowed 114 earned runs, 36 of them were first-inning runs. We, during Blake Butera's post-game session with reporters on Wednesday night, had this exchange between my co-host on the Nats Chat podcast, Nats insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com, and Butera on Jake Irvin.
What have you learned about Jake, about how he does bounce back from these first innings to still, get you through 5 and kind of figure it out along the way?
He just does a great job of settling in and making adjustments off that first inning, and then realizing, like, hey, we have a chance. Obviously, with our offense outside of today, we've done a nice job of scoring runs. So he knows, like, hey, just like in Milwaukee, he gives a 3 in the first, and then he keeps us there and keeps us in the game. Same thing here. He kept us in the game. I think he just, outside of that first inning, settled in and did a nice job of pitching and getting ahead.
All right, the Nats in this 2-0 loss at the Pirates on Wednesday evening used just one relief pitcher, who was Brad Lord, and he was very good. He tossed 3 scoreless innings. He threw 39 pitches, 28 strikes versus just 11 balls. And man, did the Nats bullpen need this, a game in which just one reliever was used. Nats manager Blake Butera has been using his relievers a ton. 2 of them went on the 15-day injured list on Monday, and the Nats are in the midst of 17 consecutive days with no scheduled off days. So good to see Brad Lord do as he did on Wednesday evening. Game 4 for the Nats at the Pirates, Thursday afternoon at 12:35. Foster Griffin will be the Nats starting pitcher. If you would like to grow your business or practice, consider advertising on this podcast. Podcast advertising works and is very affordable. Put the power of the pod to work for you. Get your message out there to thousands of successful people in the Washington, D.C. area. Email us to see what we can do for you. The email address is the Al Galdi Podcast at yahoo.com. So this episode of the podcast is for Thursday, April 16th, marking 4 weeks since opening day for MLB's 2026 regular season, which for the Baltimore Orioles must feel like it's 4 years old. The O's so far have dealt with a lot of injuries and a lot of tough games. Another one on Wednesday afternoon, an 8-5, 10-inning loss to the Arizona Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards to lose 2 out of 3 games in the series and to conclude a 3-3 homestand. The O's in this regular season now are 9-9. This was very much a back-and-forth game, but the most disappointing aspect of the game for the O's to me was that starting pitcher Kyle Bradish had another disappointing outing. Now, the Orioles' defense for him was not great, and the Orioles' defense in this regular season has not been great, but Bradish allowed 4 runs in 6 innings. He gave up 8 hits, which were a triple, 3 doubles, and 4 singles. He had 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He did throw a lot of strikes, 97 pitches, 64 strikes, 33 balls, and he got bit by some bad defense. Top of the third, Bradish allowed 2 runs as he gave up a 2-out first pitch opposite field, 2-run triple by Adrian Del Castillo to left field, where left fielder Weston Wilson failed to catch a very catchable fly ball on the warning track. But Bradish now over 4 starts in this regular season, ERA of 5.49, whip of 1.63. The O's last August 26th announced having activated Bradish from the 60-day injured list. He'd been on that since March 21st, 2025. This due to Tommy John surgery that he underwent in June 2024. He, at the major league level last regular season, was very good over 6 games, all starts. He had an outstanding 2023 regular season, but he so far in this regular season has struggled. However, it stood out that O's manager Craig Albernaz during his postgame press conference on Wednesday afternoon said a lot of nice things about Kyle Bradish. Here you go.
I think it's the best we've seen Bradish look this year. Fastball had great life to it in the strike zone. Breaking balls, the slider was really sharp. There's a lot of just balls move forward, weak contact that, they can run a little bit, so it's tough to convert the out, especially with the, we had infield in, run around third, and he hit it just soft enough to score the run. The play in left field by Wilson is probably the one that hurt the most, that could have been end of the inning, and then it turned into 2 runs.
Yes, it did. The O's so need Kyle Bradish to be the guy who he was in his brief time at the major league level last regular season and the guy who he was in that great 2023 regular season. I get that that's a high standard, but this guy has demonstrated the ability to pitch at that high standard. Here was Bradish during his postgame session with reporters on Wednesday afternoon.
I'd say I feel better with each start. Definitely not back to where I want to be or need to be. I think today got unlucky with some hits with runners in scoring position, but at the end of the day, just got to go out there and put up zeros. Can't have a 2-out walk that comes around to score, and just need to be better with shutdown innings.
Do you feel like you're close to where you want to be?
Yeah, I think today was by far my best outing. I was in the zone. I was very competitive. They hit some good pitches that were executed, and like I said, tough luck on a couple of them.
I remember early in the season you said maybe fastball command wasn't where you wanted it. Was the fastball command better today?
Yeah, a lot better today. I think it's gotten better with each outing. Velo was consistent pretty much throughout the whole outing too, which I said we'll get there once weather heats up and everything, but it's getting better.
You're obviously a very different pitcher than you were in 23, but through 4 starts that year, you had an ERA over 6. Does that kind of give you confidence that you've been able to turn things around before, and that these early starts don't necessarily reflect who you might be in August, September, October?
Yeah, it's a long year. I'm banking on making 30 starts, so we're 4 in, and each outing has gotten better. We're trending in the right direction. But yeah, I have full confidence in myself to get where I need to be.
How'd you work with Huff today?
It's great. We're on the same page. Good communication in between innings. He's really good back there.
All right, the Orioles relief pitching in this 8-5 10-inning loss to the Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Wednesday afternoon was not good, although 3 of the 5 relievers used by the O's in this game did well. But 5 Orioles relievers combined to allow 4 runs, 3 earned in 4 innings. Grant Wolfram allowed 1 run in 2/3 of an inning. He in the top of the 7th faced 4 batters and got 2 outs. Yadier Cano faced 1 batter and got 1 out, which was a 3-pitch swinging strikeout of the Diamondbacks' number 5 batter, Jose Fernandez, with a runner on third, 2 outs, and the O's down 5-4 in the top of the 7th. Anthony Nunez tossed a perfect top of the 8th. Ryan Helsley tossed a perfect top of the 9th with 2 strikeouts. But Tyler Wells, he in the top of the 10th allowed 3 runs, 2 earned, including giving up a 1-out 2-run homer by Adrian Del Castillo to right center field for a 7-5 Diamondbacks lead. The homer went a projected 420 feet per Statcast, and Tyler Wells in this regular season is struggling so far. 8 games, 10 2/3 innings, ERA of 5.06, whip of 150. The O's on Wednesday morning announced having optioned a reliever, Nick Riquet, to AAA Norfolk. The Orioles offense in this 8-5 10-inning loss to the Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Wednesday afternoon was pretty good. 5 runs, 8 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 5 singles, 4 walks, 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The O's got to the Diamondbacks starting pitcher, who was Eduardo Rodriguez. Do you remember him? He allowed 4 runs in 5 innings. Eduardo Rodriguez, former Orioles prospect. The O's signed him as an amateur free agent all the way back in January 2010. Traded him to the Boston Red Sox for reliever Andrew Miller on July 31st, 2014, what was the day of MLB's 2014 non-waiver trade deadline. How about Jeremiah Jackson? He is on a tear. He is the Orioles starting second baseman and number 6 batter. Went 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer and an RBI single. Jackson in the Orioles 2-run 5th had a 2-out 2-run homer to left field for a 4-3 Orioles lead. Jeremiah Jackson now for this regular season, 55 plate appearances, OPS of 949. Another guy who continues to do well is Leody Taveras. He came off the bench to play right field, went 1 for 2 with an RBI single. Taveras in the Orioles 1-run 7th had a pinch, 1 out. First pitch, opposite field, RBI single through the left side of the infield to tie the game at 5. Leody Taveras now for this regular season, 37 plate appearances, OPS of 939. Sam Huff, he was the Orioles starting catcher and number 8 batter. He went 1 for 4 with an RBI double. Huff in the Orioles 1-run second had a 2-out RBI double to left field for a 1-0 Orioles lead. The O's on Wednesday morning announced having selected the contract of Huff from AAA Norfolk. But someone who really needs to get going is Colton Cowser. He came off the bench to play left field, went 0 for 2. Colton Cowser now for this regular season, 45 plate appearances, OPS of just 561. So the O's on this 3-3 homestand won 2 out of 3 games against the San Francisco Giants this past weekend, but then lost 2 out of 3 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks this week. Here was Craig Albernaz during his postgame press conference on Wednesday afternoon with an evaluation of the homestand.
Started off good. I think obviously the injuries were tough. Seeing Adley and Mountain go down the boys responded. Obviously, this one stings big time, especially with the Bradish outing and how we've been playing. I think that our offense and we're starting to come alive. The great at-bats, we're starting to get rewarded with some results. We just got to clean up the defense. That's it. We can't. It's even though our starting pitchers are talented and our relievers are talented, it's really tough to give the other team more than 27 outs. So that's the biggest thing that we have to tackle is just clean up our defense.
All right, next up for the O's is a 7-game road trip beginning with a 4-game series at the Cleveland Guardians. Game 1, Thursday evening at 6:10. Shane Baz will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Friday's show, episode 1305. We'll have much more on the Washington Commanders as we on Thursday afternoon at 2 have a press conference for General Manager Adam Peters and Assistant General Manager Lance Newmark in the team's annual pre-draft press conference. Also on Friday's show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are at the Pittsburgh Pirates Thursday afternoon at 12:35 for Game 4 of a 4-game series. The O's are at the Cleveland Guardians Thursday evening at 6:10 for Game 1 of a 4-game series. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll talk to you on Friday.
We're committed to the Commander's name. I'm going to leave that we have a lot of surprises up our sleeve this season. I think people will be. I'm excited to see the reaction. I think we've got it right, and I'm going to leave it to the surprise situation.